photos date from 1596. The manor is thought to be the oldest inhabited building in the country.
I once knew some northern Musgraves.
They did come from the north originally. A cadet branch of the family broke away from the northern Musgraves and came to West Sussex in the early 17th century.
Ah.
But the bed's not been slept in. Have you searched the house?
Oh, from cellar to garret. The girl was right. There's no trace of him. He's gone.
Difficult to see how a man could have left. I mean, the windows and doors are all fastened. And what man goes away in the middle of the night and leaves all his possessions behind? Money, watch.
Well, I've given the girl something to calm her down, and I've taken the liberty of sending for a local nurse. She's in a most unusual nervous state, and should on no account be left alone for a while.
This is the girl who was engaged to Brunton?
Rachel Howells, yes, yes.
A girl with a fiery Welsh temper.
Oh, Watson.
Well, gentlemen, look, I have no intention that this small domestic incident should ruin your weekend. I propose we continue our plans for a shoot. And we'll return, hopefully, to some simple explanation. Holmes, I was telling Watson, something happened last night which may throw some light on this matter. Well, this is very embarrassing, but I find I need your advice. I couldn't sleep after foolishly taking that cup of café noir after dinner. And about 2 o'clock, I gave up the struggle. I came downstairs to fetch a novel I'm reading, which I'd left in the library. Well, you can imagine my surprise when I saw a glimmer of light coming from the open door. I remembered I'd extinguished the lamp and closed the door when we retired. Naturally, my first thought was of burglars. So, this is how you repay my trust. Prying into my family documents. You will leave my service tomorrow. But what is strange is that he seemed most anxious to stay.
Well, it's quite plain to me what happened. He went back to his room, thought it over, decided to stage his disappearance there and then, cleverly. Possibly with the help of his new woman friend.
Janet? Oh, no, she lives with her father on the other side of the lake. And besides, I doubt if she'd have the wit to help him.
This piece of paper, which Brunton thought worth his while to consult, even at the risk of losing his job.
Well, it's nothing. It's nothing of any importance at all.
Nevertheless.
It's simply a copy of the singular old observance called the Musgrave Ritual. A ceremony peculiar to our family, which each Musgrave has to go through on his coming of age.
It's a strange catechism. Undated, but written in the style of the middle of the 17th century. Would you and Watson be good enough to read it out to me?
Doctor, I know it by heart.
Whose was it?
His who is gone,
Who shall have it?
he who will come.
Where was the sun?
Over the oak,
Where was the shadow?
under the elm.
How was it stepped?
West 8 by 8, south 7 by 7, west 6 by 6, south 5 by 5, and 2 by 2, and so under.
What shall we give for it?
All that is ours,
Why should we give it?
for the sake of the trust.
It's a treasure hunt.
Oh, no. I remember as children we often tried to solve it. It leads nowhere.
Could Brunton have seen this before last night?
It's possible. We took no pains to hide it. But what could he want with it?
Obviously, he was refreshing his memory. You say that he had some map or chart which he thrust back into his pocket the moment you appeared.
That's what it looked like.
Yes, we must re-examine this ritual. The measurements obviously refer to some exact spot to which the rest of the document alludes. You're given 2 guides.
Yes, an elm and an oak.
Evidently, Brunton saw something in this which escaped your forebears, Musgrave, from which he expected some personal advantage. If I can read it aright, I hold in my hand the clue to the truth concerning both the butler Brunton and the maid Howells. Where was the sun over the oak? Where was the shadow under the elm? So this is where it grew?
Yes?
I suppose it's impossible to tell me how high it was.
Oh, I can give you that at once. It was 64 feet. It's my old tutor. He used to give me lessons in trigonometry. When I was a lad, I used to know the height of every tree and building on this estate.
I am grateful to your tutor. Tell me, did Brunton ever ask you such a question? Here, on this lawn?
Now that you call it to my mind, Brunton? What are you doing here?
Enjoying the evening, sir.
This is my private lawn.
You pardon me for asking, sir. The elm that once stood here, that was struck by lightning. You wouldn't remember the height of it, would you, sir?
Well, why should you want to know that?
Well, I'm arguing with Mr. Tregallis about it. I say it was 50 feet, he puts it higher. We've a small wager on it.
Oh, well, you've lost your wager, Brunton. It was 64 feet.
Ah, was it? I shall just have to be a good sport and pay up then. Thank you, sir.
Oh, good Lord.
Now we must find where the shadow of the elm would have fallen when the sun is just cleared of that oak.
Well, that'll be difficult, Holmes, since the elm's no longer there.
Well, now, come, Watson. If Brunton can do it, then so can we. The answer lies in trigonometry.
Holmes,
Yes?
I don't quite follow this.
Ah, splendid. Musgrave.
Every rod in the house.
Thank you. Measuring stick, please, Watson. Would you hold that for me, Musgrave, please? And that. Now, will you take the last yard of the string and tie it to the base of the fishing rod, Watson? Yes. When you've done that, would you bring the ritual and join me on the lawn? Would you measure that shadow, please, Watson?
9 feet.
So the calculation is now a simple one. If a fishing rod of 6 feet throws a shadow of 9 feet, then a tree of 64 feet will throw one of...
98.
96.
Yes, of course.
And the line of one, of course, would be the line of the other. Watson, look! 2 inches from mine.
Mark made by Brunton.
Now, read out the steps.
West, 8 by 8.
And
South,
south.
7 by 7.
$49.
West, 6 by 6.
$36 and...
South, 5 by 5.
And
2 by 2.
1, 2, 3, 4. I don't believe it.
Some mistake in your calculations.
That's impossible.
Brunton hasn't been here.
2 by 2 and so under.
These stones haven't been moved in many a long year.
And under. Holmes!
Used to be wood all over the floor, Dan. That's Brunton's muffler. I'd swear to it.
Watson!
Cause of death, suffocation.
No wound or bruise on his person, sir?
None.
Accident, eh?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. He must have been down there alone, and the flagstone just fell shut on him, poor fellow.
Sir Reginald, I'm told that your butler was down in the cellar in an unused part of the house. What was his business there, sir?
A butler's duties are many and varied, Inspector. I can't possibly answer that question.
Well, no one would have heard his cries for help in that part of the house. That is the point, surely, Inspector. The local inspector, Holmes, would like.
If you could find a plausible explanation for him to avoid publicity in this wretched...
I must confess that so far I am disappointed in my investigation. I had reckoned upon solving the matter when once I'd found the place referred to in the ritual, but now that I'm here, I'm as far as ever from knowing what it was your family concealed with such elaborate precautions.
But you've solved my mystery of Brumpton.
But how? How did his fate come upon him? And what part has been played by the woman who's disappeared?
I should explain Holmes' methods in such cases. He puts himself in the man's place, having first gauged his intelligence. Then he tries to imagine how he himself would have proceeded in similar circumstances.
In this case, Brunton's intelligence is first rate.
So you see, it is unnecessary to make allowance for the personal equation. As the astronomers have dubbed it.
He knows something is concealed. He has spotted the place. It's found the stone is too heavy for a man to move unaided. So, what does he do? Help from outside. No one to trust. Help from inside. But who? Rachel. She still loves him. He sees it in her eyes, for all her show of hate.
I'm here to say I'm sorry, my love. I'm a foolish man. I don't deserve you.
Don't.
Forgive me, Rachel.
Why?
There's no one else for me. No, never has been. You know that. As this house, it eats into your soul. Let me take you away from here. We'll start afresh. Come with me. Put on your gown. I'll show you. Softly now. There it is. Under that stone. All we have to do is lift it.
There is a slight indentation on this log. And on this. Caused by the weight of the stone.
Heavy work for a woman.
And this, I think, has been used finally as a support.
Help me out of here. Rachel?
Rachel! Milo, get help. I can't breathe. Get Mr. Holmes. Quickly. Please, Milo. Rachel! Oh, God. Help me! Rachel! Rachel! Help! Rachel, help me! Rachel! Rachel, help me!
That would explain her blanched face and her fevered brain at breakfast the next morning.
Nothing but fungi. What was in the box, Holmes? It's Charles I.
We may find something else of Charles I. The bag that was fished from the Mere. Gentlemen, look.
It's a jewel. Family heirloom.
It's possible.
Your ancestor, Sir Ralph Musgrave, was he a prominent cavalier?
Oh, yes, indeed, yes. He was close to Charles II in his wanderings during the Commonwealth.
Then I think that should give us the last link that we wanted. Gentlemen, you must bear in mind, when the royal party were driven into exile, they probably left many of their most precious possessions buried behind them, with the intention of returning for them in more peaceful times. Gold, Musgrave. Watson, I believe you have in your hand a relic which is not only of great intrinsic value, but also of great importance as a historical curiosity.
What is it?
Nothing less than a fragment of the ancient crown of the kings of England.
The crown?
Oh, no, no, Holmes, it's too fanciful.
Now consider the ritual. How does it run? Whose was it?
His who is gone.
That was the execution of Charles. And then, who shall have it?
He who will come.
That was Charles II, whose advent was already foreseen. There can, I think, be no doubt, gentlemen, that this battered and shapeless diadem once encircled the brows of the Royalstons.
But how came it to my family?
When Charles I was executed, the crown was seized, broken into pieces, and sold for 1,000 guineas. Since then, there has been no trace of it. Until now.
But why did Charles not get it back on his return?
That is a question which may never be answered. When your ancestor died, by some oversight, he left this guide to his descendant without ever explaining the meaning of it.
Father to son.
Until at last, it came within reach of a man who tore his secret out of it and lost his life in the venture.
Was it chance the wood slipped? Was she only guilty of silence? She had a passionate Celtic soul. The man had wronged her. She had him in her power. Might it not have been vengeance that sent the stone crashing? Her hand that dashed it away. And what has become of her?
Very probably she's far away from Holston now and carries her secret with her.